Wednesday night slate on the Sideline Sports Network. This is the Pundit's Pundit. I am your moderator, Denzel. Snipes. I'd like to welcome you all. If you are a first-time viewer, absolutely hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter as well as LinkedIn. We got a loaded show for you guys. And then right after this, we got to boogie on over to the South Florida Tribune for the Sports Exchange, and then on back for Confidential. So Wednesday nights is always busy evening in the studios and Sideline Sports. But let's go ahead and bring the crew in here real fast. First in, he is the architect of this very program, and he also has Pundit Views, which is on Mondays on the Sideline Sports Network. Really great in-depth one-on-one interviews with both sports and non-sports personalities. Let's go ahead and bring him in here all the way in Atlanta. Jacob Christner, come on in.
What is going on? And I will tell you this: we got a big one Monday. We're gonna have George. We're gonna have old George on. Scott's gonna know this.
Oh, okay, nice.
Scott's gonna know this one. That's like that. That is an exciting one too. And I've got a few others over the weeks, but Scott's gonna like that one because I've had Scott. Might as well add George to it.
May as well, indeed. And then, speaking of which, he's got a brand new setup back there. He is the architect of the South Florida Tribune. He is the captain and the co-pilot of that ship. And you can catch him not only on this program, but as stated next on the Sports Exchange. Come on in, Scott, Motor City Mouth Morganrath.
Well, don't forget Mad, but that's okay.
Mad Mouth.
So I'm going to do it my Brent Musburger deal. You are looking live from the new digs.
You're looking live from the forum.
You are looking live. This is it. And during NCAA time, you know, who's saying that? This is it. Don't be a fool anymore. You know where I'm going with the song? God,
sounds familiar.
Great. Oh, goodness. But yeah, this is where I'll be operating from now on going forward. That's for sure. So glad to be back on. Feeling a little bit better, really charged up a little bit. Have a little bit of water today. Sorry to let you down with no caffeine a little bit tonight, but there's time for it for this later broadcast. So I'm glad to be back with you guys. You guys are like my brothers anyway. So.
Well, pretty sure the Mountain Dew tank will be filled here soon, if not this week, but next week. So
no, we got plenty of it out there. I decided to go a little bit of water tonight because I had plenty of it earlier today. So, but
hey, I'm right there along with you.
I don't know what is mine called. Is it Kirkland Purified Water? And since they got to give us royalties, since we gave them a little bit of a plug here.
So you're going to Costco. So you're going to Costco, basically.
I don't know. Does all that over at Walmart. I stay away from all that, man. I know.
He's like, man, she handles all that. And we got another one. And he's reporting all the way from Florida, but he's on the opposite side of the state from where Scott is. Come on in here. He is the Rocky Mountain Rebel himself, Jordan Long. Come on in here.
Nice to be here. I mean, yeah, you're right. I'm usually in Colorado where it's been a little bit snowy and a little bit cold. I figured I might as well get out of it and get warm for a little bit and then head back to the cold.
Look at this, Jordan. You do all the traveling. Is that on Sidelines Money Expense Account or what? 1 minute you're in Phoenix, the next minute you're in Florida. Well, right. I'm making good money here.
Yeah, watch. Next week I'll be back in Colorado. So
how you doing?
Hey, if you have an expense account, get me some.
I know, right? We need to talk to JB about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll be headed to Daytona pretty soon and Tampa. Hey, Snowman, how you doing, man? It's been a while. We got to get in touch, man. I'll bring you on too.
Indeed. Well, before we get started, just want to let everybody know that once again, you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as LinkedIn. We've got a plethora of shows, as you've seen from the glorious intro video that I played right before this telecast came on. So absolutely, check us out. It's more than just the Pundit's Pundit. It's more than just Pundit Views. It's more than just the Sports Exchange. There's Confidential, which is coming on later on tonight. There's also the Gauntlet. There's also the Sideline Sports Show. There's Troy and Gary. There's Unfiltered Truth. Unfiltered Truth, and also Cold Hard Truth as well, and many other shows. So absolutely, tune in. Sideline Sports, we've got a really great lineup for you. And we're going to start this one off. And I hope y'all didn't mind, but we actually ran out of time and didn't get to this one last week. Pretty sure you probably forgot about this one, Jacob. But just wanted to cover it really, really quick. And that is...
Oh, I didn't forget about it.
So the Cincinnati Bengals were trying to move on from state-run healthcare to private. Now, I don't know what this is all about. I'm guessing, half guessing, that the incident with Damar Hamlin might have something to do with it. I don't know. Even though, because he was taken to University of Cincinnati hospital, but I would like to think that it has something to do with this, and it's not sitting here saying that they're growing a big head or anything like that. They did a whole lot for him. Everybody did a whole lot for him when that incident occurred. But just wanted to get your angle on this, Jacob, on what your thoughts are from them moving on from state-run to private.
See, I made the truth out of it. I brought the truth from it in the first place. It's like, because there was a media, there was a Mina Kimes, and there was a few others from ESPN that tried to basically say that they were trying to remove all basically their healthcare system, and see where it's getting worse. It is getting worse. Do not get that wrong. LIV's already removed healthcare plans from basically anybody that works there outside of the golfers, and that'll come very soon. So it's getting worse in itself. That's what the truth is, though, is they're trying to make it more private, so you have choices of what you get, but it also makes things cheaper. It also has less. There's also less to choose from. So the thing is, though, they're not trying to remove everybody off plans the way that it was said. Like the way that ESPN was saying, a lot of people in the media would want to divide it. It's not saying that. It's trying to move it private instead of having state run. But state run would give them more options. Hey, Snowman, how's it going? No, it does give them less options. It would be less expensive. And state run would be better for them, and it would give them more. But at the same time, we're seeing a lot more of this because it's getting more expensive.
Okay.
And I wanted to see if you saw something like that, Jordan. What do you think of these ideas?
Honestly, as long as we can get, cheaper healthcare for, these players, it's fine. The thing I look at it is they don't necessarily have the best healthcare once they retire. And I was reading that with private, they're actually going to take care of the players better. So if you can do that, I'm fine with it. I have no problem with it. Like you were saying, if it's cheaper, that's fine. I think this may be a model that more NFL teams should do just to make the cost of everything cheaper. It's fine by me. I got no problem with it.
Well, my big issue is the fact that the Brown family is very, very cheap, just like the McCaskets.
I understand.
The McCaskets, like all with that, it's like the Brown family is exceptionally cheap. So what's their thing? Is it taking care of people, or is it giving them less to think about? Giving them less options.
Well, that's true. You do want more options. I didn't think about that, because if you are getting rid of more options, then it's like, where do you go to get healthcare? You know what? That's a pretty good point, Jacob. I didn't think about that.
It's funneling. It's essentially like think about like you have like 5 restaurants in town, right? Mm-hmm. And one of those restaurants owners, he goes and buys up the other 4 and then shuts them down. And now that forces you all to funnel in and eat at your place, at his place. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. It's. I don't want to use the M word. Hell, I'll just say it. Like monopolize, but it's
monopoly.
It sounds monopolish. Okay,
it really does.
But Scott, what do you think about this whole thing?
Well, first of all, Snowman, I will reach out to you. I've been really, really busy, but I'm starting to get caught up with a lot of my contacts. Number one, Jennifer, appreciate you reaching out. What do I think? Number one, I have a 215 license. Haven't used it, unfortunately. It's so hard to get in the state of Florida. But I'm all in favor of what's in the best interest of the player. That's all there is to it. And if they can get it better privately instead of state funded, then so be it. More power to them. That's to me the key. But again, the word if, I have to see stuff in writing before I can fully comment on it. Hearsay is one thing, action is another, and getting the documents in front of me to ensure that they go ahead and do what they've got to do. That's another story. You know what I mean? So, and let me tell you, getting a 215 license in Florida is so tough because they're looking to flunk you because of all the scams in my state. Excuse me. So, again, I'm all in favor of what's for the player. That's all there is to it. So private, state funded, doesn't matter. It looks like this is going to be a trend, probably in a lot of states that they'll go private, but I think this is one of those topics that TBD to be or TBC to be continued later on as we start to see action in this respect.
Well, one of the
Right.
things, Fred, I just saw this right now, and I gave it a little more. It says the Bengals just made Kettering Health in Cincinnati a 10-year partnership. So,
Ooh.
see, the original idea from the ESPN and all of the media, the divided media, as I'll call it, was that they were trying. And guess what? There is a cheapness to the Browns family. There is cheapness to the Bengals. Don't get that wrong. But they were saying they wanted to be able to go more privately owned instead of state run. It's like that's the issue. Is when you have an agenda, like a lot of the media does, you don't give the full answer. You don't give the full thing right then and there. You don't. And that's what I want. This, like I said, that's what I want Pundit to do. That's what I want all of our shows on Sideline to do, because the biggest thing about it is it's always jump to conclusions. It's like the ESPN turned into the View. It's like we're automatically going to jump. And I want to hear from you, big time, Jay. I want to hear from you what you think. Because what do you prefer, like a private or state run? Because
Well, you know what, Jay, before you go on, can I add something that you made a really good point,
Sure.
Jacob? And that the Brown family does have a tendency to be a little bit, as they call, cheap. Is that what you want to call it?
Yeah.
In terms of the way they spend money on players and the way they've operated. Now, to their credit, in recent years, they've gotten a lot better, and you can see by the results on the field with the Bengals. But Jacob, you make a really, really, really good point. Their track record of being a little bit, they don't spend a lot of money doesn't go away overnight. Sorry, Jay.
No,
You're good. Actually, I was going to allude to your point as well, and that's just a common trait amongst billionaires. People have this misconception that, they just kind of throw money everywhere. And if you're a Jerry Jones, maybe, right? But outside of that, people don't realize that, that's a trait of a billionaire is they're very, very frugal, Sell to the lowest bidder, anything to save a buck,
Well, watch okay, for instance, let me tell you this right now. You ever played a poker on an app before? For instance.
Yes.
You guys
I've tried, yeah.
But just think about this. There's no real money. But
that's true. Yeah.
There's points. How many people are scared to death of going all in on like 1.5 million? It goes like that. And, it does like that. And it's like, guess what? They have the real life thing. They can put 1.5 million. It's gone like that. They can feel the same way. But I want to ask you, Jay. Absolutely. You've lived in what you call the federal world, state-run world, state-run government. You had military. You had everything with the military, and you've had this world. What do you prefer? And I just want the honest truth with it. What do you prefer, like state-run, federal, or more private entities?
One thing about private entities, and you see this amongst like private contractors and such, is the federal government is having to, of course, like fund them and whatnot. The issue is what happens when that funding runs out, and now you're gonna have a bunch of contractors around with nothing to do. It's kind of like what's going on right now. There's no real war going on. You know what I mean? So so you always have that working. With federal. It depends. You may have more options, but you more have just outright better options, Like, for example, like our benefits, okay? I've worked for both the state and the federal. I can honestly tell you and I mean, I'm not like trying to talk bad or anything like that, but after leaving the military and then going and getting a state job, like I felt like it was a downgrade as far as, like, don't get me wrong, like they're good benefits. It's just that federal had that much better benefits. You know what I mean? How many state-run institutions are going to pay for your school? How many state-run institutions are going to give you 100% health care, 100% dental, help you buy a house if you, things like that. So in bridging it to this right here, I can understand them going private, and I'm not going to sit here and say that the team owner is going to go broke in 2 or 3 years. It's just people have to keep in mind that if you go private, and the thing that's feeding you runs out, there's gonna be a lot of disappointed people out there to where they could have went to a state run, they could have went to nationally run. You know what I mean? So it's a gamble. It's a gamble at the end of the day. I'm not gonna down either side. you know, private is more frugal. Just make sure you keep that contract alive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you know what? We're talking about a team here, okay, where you had Devin Still and his daughter, okay, and
Mhm.
without that insurance, Devin would be in trouble. I mean, this little girl, beat cancer because she had undoubtedly some of the best medical care. Thanks, you thank the Bengals for making sure this little girl's alive, and Devin Still had the courage and to be able to keep with the program, and they kept him out, from what I hear, on the medical plan just so his daughter could go ahead and get treatment from. I remember, so
Awesome.
that's one of the
That's
better
correct.
stories about the Bengals pertaining to the medical situation. Because I was inspired by the Devin Still story. I'm sure you guys were too, aren't you?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's the these are things that have to be questioned all the time. It's like I was mad because you originally thought, because it is always like I mean, I had a family member used to, I mean, I'll just say my brother, he literally would say to me, quit reading the headlines. I used to do that. He'd always get on me for reading the headline. He'd get it everywhere. And I see why he did. It's like when you get to the headline, you're not getting the idea. Then if you read a little closer and then you go a little farther, then you get the truth.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
What they really wanted to do. And it's like when there is an agenda, they're just looking to ruin.
Yeah. Clickbait.
Huh?
Clickbait.
Exactly. That's what
In
it
the
is.
advent of the internet, you got clickbait.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm telling you this, Fox News is no different from CNN. CNN no different from Fox. And I'm saying the Daily Beast no different from Breitbart. Just goes different ways. And it's like all of it is terrible. And I'm just being honest. You got to flip through all of them to be able to get at least half the truth. But they're all awful if they're not trying to. If they're just trying to show one side.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that's a good way to go into our next topic. And I saw a lot of traction about this one. And I if you don't mind, I moved it up, in the lineup but wanted to, because this is a kind of a breaking news kind of deal. St. Francis Brooklyn to cut all athletic programs.
Yeah.
So, Jacob, and you discovered this one. Like, how'd you come across this one, and a little bit more detail, if you will, about what's going on here?
Well, they had 21 Division I programs that are all going away. And I saw it. See, I was going to put there was going to be one topic, WWE, should they go SAG? We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
Or some week or whatever. It's like there's something to be said with it. You and I can talk. Heck, we could probably do that with one of our Pundit View people, But the biggest thing about it is they're going to be cutting all their athletic programs and doing they're just kind of like where we're just trying. They're basically saying, I don't know what they said, but they're basically saying we're trying not to close in a very PC way. We're trying not to close. And see, this is becoming worse, though. They're going broke. More of these schools are starting to go broke. They're going this way. There's a variety of reasons. COVID was a big reason, number one. Number two, there is a political way called woke that is irritating people. So you're getting less students. And then we can bring these things up. There's high schools that are the same way. I know one in Illinois who just had to shut down their football program for the season.
Yeah.
They had to shut theirs for the season, and I'm betting anything it's for good. They're just saying for the season for right now. And I'll bet more programs go out that way, too.
They don't have any plans on bringing it back. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, they have a plan for quote-unquote next year, but I'll bet you it's not. It's like the reason they shut it down to begin with is because they had a total of 30 students against 53 at all times, and everybody had to play both sides.
Right.
So then they went like 1-9, and they're like, we're not even going to try this anymore. We got to just get – it's like they once had 1,200 students. Now it's like down to 250.
Wow. Jesus.
Yeah. It's like
a lot of
Catholic school too, and it's like, and that's a high school. And there's those, and it's like like I said, there's a variety of reasons. There is the going woke that can be irritating people. There is the COVID that still makes sure people want to be able to do it from the class, from the thing at their own home. There's people that still wear masks in their own car. Yeah. So there's those variety of reasons, and it's like we're going to see more of this. Mm-hmm. We are going to see more of this type of stuff, unfortunately. And it hurts conferences. Because remember, that means a conference either has one less game or they got to find someone to put there. And it's a smaller conference. This isn't like This isn't like the Big 10, Big 12, the B1G or SEC, who could, basically people will be standing in line.
Yeah.
People standing in line to get there. It's like, I want to be next. It's like, who's going to want to be in that conference? That was Fairleigh Dickinson's conference, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, but but you're right. Like in college football, that's one less tune-up game for an Alabama or an Ohio State or a Michigan or a USC or a Florida or something like that. Now that's not saying that there's going to be a sudden influx, not influx, but a sudden shortage of cupcake components or anything. But it is one less, But swing over to Jordan. What is your thought about all of this? And do you feel like, and to Jacob's point, whenever you start to see these things, it's kind of like the one who's liquidating all their assets because a sale's coming. You know what I mean? So what they start doing is they start cutting these programs and everything. The crazy part is like because Jacob, they're cutting all 21 at once, right? This was like a graduate thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so plainly put, Jordan, do you think this school is in trouble?
Well, yeah. Well, obviously, if they're in trouble, because we know athletics for most. I mean, I know for most programs, that's what helps, these universities. But obviously, if they're getting rid of it, there's something going wrong with their financial. So they figure, let's cut all this until, to get them back up to par. But who would want to go there? I feel sorry for these students athletes. I mean, who have scholarships, who, even if you're a freshman or a sophomore, you don't get to play 4 years there. I mean, I just don't know what's really going on with the school, how much money they're losing. But if they feel like this is the best course of action, that it is. But I just feel sorry for the student athletes. And yes, the school's in trouble. But the thing is, though, it's like Jacob was talking about COVID. COVID hasn't helped. And like you guys were talking about, this is going to hurt their conference because you're going to have to replace their game with their game that they were supposed to play against the school, find somebody else to play. So, yeah, it's going to reshape conferences. I feel sorry, especially for the student athletes, since they signed up to play at this school. Now that's going to be gone. Plus, we know that this is a small Division I, and not many people get to play Division I sports. So I feel sorry for them. They're going to have to go through the transfer portal, find a different school. That could be even, Division II, Division III, or even JUCO college. I don't know how many of these will actually go to Division I. It just felt sorry for the student athletes in the end.
Well, real quickly, one of the things is they said, if you will, that they're going to pay out the scholarships, but where are they going to get the money?
Where are they going to get the money at?
Where are you going to get the money? And the thing is, this isn't going to help. This will help the school, because watch next the drama programs, if they're not already gone before the other programs. Watch the drama
theater.
Programs.
Bye.
They weren't good. See, we don't get the news on drama. You're talking to the guy who's been the actor. You don't get that one. You get the sports program. It might be gone first.
Right. It's a domino effect, really.
Yeah. It's like it's the schools in a lot of trouble. And I'm saying these schools are in trouble you're in trouble when you're trying to put Band-Aids on bullet wounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to swing it over to Scott. Just want to get your thoughts before you go into your commentary. I want to lead you off with a question here. How big of a plight is it for the student athlete? Is this going to force them to go to a big Division I where they may have almost no shot at playing, or is it a blessing in disguise they could go to a Fairleigh Dickinson or something like that?
Oh, you asking me this question?
Yes.
Okay. Well, number one, I'm going to give you the whole kit and caboodle on this one. I live in an area, by the way, where Florida Atlantic University under Howard Schnellenberger, started from the ground up. And they needed those big guarantee games in order to finance what subsequently became a new stadium and the other sports. Item number one. Number two, UAB once canceled their football program, and then they brought it back because the demand was so much higher, and then they got a stadium in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a two-headed monster there. FAU started from the ground up, and that's a major reason that Howard Schnellenberger is not in the Hall of Fame, because he kept turning programs into something, and they're not even cutting him any slack for that. That's another topic down the road, the injustices of College Football Hall of Fame. Really, you mean to tell me that program builders aren't really excluded? Give me a break.
Schnellenberger began the Miami Hurricanes
I'm getting to that.
The whole thing. Yes.
No. So here's the deal. Okay. And the first college program I covered was the University of Miami Hurricanes when Jim Kelly was there. Pretty interesting time frame. That's where I got my starters back then. Turned that around. Then he subsequently went to Louisville. He's got a name on a building there. He's revered in Boca Raton. So the only bad problem he had was he went to a USFL team in Miami that never came to fruition. And then he had a tough year at Oklahoma and then got back here. And he was selling for a while until they began the program. And then he decided, and the rest is history. So UAB, canceled their program because they thought it was too expensive, didn't get enough support. Let me tell you, within about a year or two, Conference USA stood by. We can stay here as long as you have intent to go ahead and come back. And they did. So UAB is in better shape than they've ever been. More power to them. They are in Conference USA. They're always contending for a football championship. Item number one, we know about FAU. And by the way, congratulations to the Owls. They're in the Sweet 16. They're going to have a tough one against Rick Barnes in Tennessee. Now, with that said, okay, the third question you're asking me about where these players are going to go. Let me tell you something, okay? And I'm going to tell you, because I've seen it all too many times. I don't know if 100% of the players are going to make it, but whether they play at another Division I school, because the transfer portal is so active, you have to sell these kids on every year anyways to come back. So they'll land, whether it's a big school, small school. Remember how many great players like Walter Payton, Jerry Rice came from schools nobody knew about. And by the way, you ever heard of pro days? When Jim Kelly wrecked up his shoulder and separated, he had one there. So they'll find a place to play. But when you talk about the topic in its entire, it's absurd. Oh, they'll find another school to bring in. With all the different conference movement there is these days, you mean to tell me they can't pluck another school out of nowhere and then plug them in? They'll do that. So I think it's absurd that they're cutting all the programs and not and not some of the non-revenue sports that you have. But I guess that they're just making it clear, let's just get out of the sports business and be done with it. I think the whole thing's absurd. I really do, in the end. But I wanted you guys to have all those different examples to realize no matter how big or small you are. And let me tell you, when I graduated from USF in 1987, or 86, excuse me, we didn't even have a football program. And our homecoming was at the basketball game. And Lee Rose was our head coach. And we know he has Charlotte ties. So our homecoming was at basketball games at the Sun Dome, a place, by the way, I got my degree there as well. So, nowadays you have more and more programs. But once upon a time, you didn't have football until now you're over 130, 140 FBS, I think, football bowl subdivision, then the FBS Variety. So, it's complicated, but it isn't. They're one school, Fairleigh. And by the way, for whatever it's worth, Fairleigh Dickinson, their head coach is, by the way, now taking Rick Pitino's place over at Iron.
owner.
So I do have a question on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Get all of the 21 off. You have to wonder, and I'm just asking this because it's a smaller school, so it wouldn't matter either way or the other.
Yeah.
You have to wonder if they knocked them all off because the women's were going to be on the axe first and they did not want the media disaster.
I mean, you can make a case. You could make a case for that, but I don't know if you're going to cut all 21, you're going to do it because of finances. I guess we'll you know what, Jacob? What we'll do? We'll put that in the hypothetical.
Oh, it's easy.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, what is it? Title IX, is that what they call it with everybody? I'm not sure about all these different titles anyways,
Well, the only reason I asked that is because that is what's normally in every column that you see on like a Bleacher Report and ESPN,
right.
All that kind of stuff. They'll talk about the women. See, the women don't get any real revenue sharing like the men do. They don't get all those. So it's like they're the ones that get axed at these schools first. So you have to wonder if they axed everybody to.
Well, they did. So let me tie another point. That's a heck of a question, okay? And that's this. When you compare the NBA versus the WNBA, we could sit here and tell you all the financial differential things comparing the two leagues. One's getting paid $150,000 a year in salary, and then they have to go overseas to make up the difference. Where the NBA, they're getting paid pretty well. And now, guess what? We have to deal with load management. It don't matter. So we know that there's a big disparity in revenues, even at the major league level, WNBA versus the NBA. So, but to go back to your original point, though, Jacob, when you think about it, okay, they were smart. If you're going to get rid of them, you go all or nothing is really what you have there. You really do. And apparently that's the route they decided to go. But again, maybe the word absurd will be a cliche by the time I get done burning it up tonight with you guys, because it's stupid. It really is. I mean, I think the topic's great. I think the outcome is pathetic because of the amount of people that are involved and scholarships. There's a lot of TBDs connected to that. I hope I gave you, enough information to.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
and that's an interesting hypothetical that you gave, Jacob. Is what if women were first on the chopping block and they were like, "Whoa, wait a second, hang on. If one entity's going to go, then they all got to go because you really. I mean, now, but you can weigh that two ways though. You can either say, we don't want the media nightmare, or on the morally good side, they may be saying, well, hey, it's either all of us or none, and if we can't have them, then no one's going to have anything.
Well,
but then you also have to understand another thing, too. My sister-in-law, Marie, out in Wisconsin, works at an all-women's school called Alverno College, is what she does. And once upon a time, the University of Detroit became University of Detroit Mercy, where you had the men's and the women's programs combined. So it's not uncommon that you have separate schools because of genetics and all that as well. So, but I think really when you bring it back and put it all in its perspective, what choice? You might as well just be fair and get rid of them all. Well, at that point.
Well, and that's true. It's like, and Jordan, I was going to say, I just want to get your opinion on this. Do you think there would have been any kind of shot whatsoever? Just seeing what you read. I know what you read and everything. Do you think there was any shot whatsoever outside to be able to save the program? Any other way that you think that could be?
No, I think you guys are hitting it on the head. I mean, I haven't seen anything that says it's a women's program, but you're definitely right. If it was a women's program, you don't want to have that headache. So why not just get rid of all of them? So then you're fairness, even though that maybe it would be one or two programs, but then you would have to get rid of one or two men's programs. Why not just get rid of them all? That way you don't have this huge headache.
Well, remember this part. This is New York, very liberal area. You know darn good well that Florida is going to get rid of this is the truth. They'll get rid of Florida, Tennessee, those areas would get rid of the women's programs they would not care one bit about what Mina Kimes or anybody said. They would not. It's a different thought process and a different mind.
Well, and then you're looking at those schools too that are in Florida and Tennessee. They're getting paid more, so then you could save some of the programs too. And even if they got rid of a women's program, you could still have money for other programs.
Oh yeah, definitely. But see, I'm just saying this. Everything I was talking about was it is a theory. We're just
right
this part now. It's like a lot of my theories, and some of my theories end up correct, some of them don't. But it's like that. I wonder what we're going to find out in a year when they do one of those year-end things. When you see the things, I wonder if see that they had to just the accent. I wonder if I'm going to be told you so. Who knows?
You might be onto something.
Might have to check back in on here.
You got a subject here, which is a hot tamale, and all it is basically theory. I once upon a time at USF took a communication class called speech communication theory, and you know what? You could sit there and write. If you're a good writer, you're going to pass this class because you're making yourself believable. But what are we doing to make ourselves believable with a situation where it's all or nothing? And that's what they've done, really.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to get on to our third topic here. We're at the midway point of the show. It's a good time to remind everybody, you can catch us on YouTube. If you watch us on YouTube, just know you can catch us on Facebook and Twitter as well as LinkedIn if you have one of those. So be sure you hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube and tune in to all of our great shows. And now for our third topic, and this is interesting here.
Yeah.
Kirk Cameron, Mark Adams, and the anger killing the ability to read the room. Now, Jacob, I know this is yours. And I was wondering what angle you were going with this one right here.
Everybody has the inability to read a room on this part. I'll explain. First, I'll go to Mark Adams. He got basically fired. He got fired because he used a biblical passage. He used biblical passages to try to be able to motivate his team, and one of them had to do with slavery.
Okay.
One of them had to do with slavery. Now, the biggest thing about it is once I told you everybody's having a problem reading the room because in one side you have the Mark Adams basically saying that with a generation that does not read the Bible the same amount of time. They do not, unless they go to a biblical school, and even then we don't know. They're not reading the Bible the same, so they're going to take that offensively. The word, remember, slavery is big in the Bible. So they're going to take that offensively. But at the same time, this is Texas. So people getting offended by Mark Adams wanting to pray and being a biblical scholar and doing all that. This is not New York City.
No.
And they're starting to fight back the biblical ones. There's a coach in Washington who got $1.7 million and his job back because he wanted to pray on the field. He wanted to pray on the field. They fired him for praying on the field, even though it was in private, and he got $1.7 million and his job back.
Yeah, so and I can tell you, as
far as Kirk Cameron, that's another guy, and I'm going to say this: he's not. It's like the people are not reading the room. He was doing his idea of going to the libraries because there's a drag queen deals going to the libraries, and everybody that watches me on Twitter knows I totally have zero to say about that. but the big thing is that he is bringing his own Christian and family hour, which is enormous. It's gotten huge crowds. But then the librarian that of the place decided they wanted to go throw a fit, cause noise, cause all that kind of stuff while he was over there. Did not agree with it, and he just caused trouble, and he got fired. It's in Tennessee. It's in Tennessee.
Crazy.
When I say anger killing the ability to read the room, you got to know Tennessee is very red. Texas is red to purple. Still has red to it. Yes. It had. You know what I'm saying though with that? It's like when you're so angry that you don't see and you're trying to change the world, you're not going to change those things. It's like it was like Kirk Cameron went to Tennessee. Smart. That's cool. He found his crowd. It's like Trump going to Oklahoma he went to Oklahoma for the NCAA wrestling tournament. Huge crowd, huge fan. Woo! Huge everything. He went to New York to the UFC and got booed out of the building. And it's like you just gotta know what you have to be able to read the room on something and quit trying to change people because you're angry. And I would say Mark Adams needs to learn that these kids do not read it the same, and you can't make them do it that way. You have to do it a different way. He got dollars for it, but he still lost his job.
You have to pick and choose your areas because when Trump went to a UFC event and he got booed out of the room, the next Saturday he was at an Alabama Crimson Tide game and the stadium cheered him. Oh, you got to know where you're going, and so now I can say after having, I attended and graduated from Abilene Christian University, that West Texas is like this Bible Belt, right? And Lubbock's like on the edge of it. Lubbock's about 2.5 hours west of Abilene. And so you understand why Mark Adams tried to do it, because he's like, well, I got a little leverage here. I'm in the Bible Belt. I can get away with it. But he's not realizing that the state is turning. Like you said, it's purple, and there are people. The purple, And the thing is what they would have gotten away with back in the 90s and the 80s and even the 2000s and some of the 2010s. Some of them are not getting away with it anymore. He probably was shocked that he lost his job, But swinging down to Jordan here, what is your thought about the whole thing?
I think Mark Adams was trying to actually motivate his team. He did it in the wrong way. Again, like Jacob was saying, he didn't read the room very, very well. Of course, Texas, as we know, is a purple state. You just can't bring that into a locker room. As for Kirk Cameron, I mean, granted, I have nothing against drag queens. I think he needed to know where he was and just leave that stuff alone. But again, it's reading the room. Where are you? You have to realize where you are, and not to say some of those things. But yet, both of these guys are going to say what they want. Of course, Mark Adams, it cost him his job. Yes, he was trying to motivate them, but he just did it in the wrong way.
Well, before I go to anything, I just want to say this forward to here. Kirk Cameron went to Tennessee and did his and got a huge crowd deal. And the librarians got Mad. And I was just saying this part, Jordan. I was just gonna say because I know you read up on the Adams thing more than the Cameron deal. So I'm gonna what happened was that the he did it because the drag queens are going all over the map too, but the biggest issue with it is it's not reading time. It's like there's areas that they're doing striptease in front of the 3-year-olds, which completely wrong, completely stupid. They basically too far. So Kirk Cameron brought his own in, and then the librarians who did not agree with it started causing noise, kicking things and all that stuff, kicking those deals. And those were, and the biggest thing is those librarians not read the room by itself. It's like, and it's like when it's almost like you're going on TikTok and trying to it's like you're expecting your crew. You get on TikTok where other people are going to agree with you, but most of Tennessee, most of the Republicans in Tennessee win by 30.
That's true.
So it's like you're trying to get something, and it's like all I want is for people to take a deep breath. And
I completely agree.
If you're really that irritated, go to a blue state because red is going to be red and blue is going to be blue. There's going to be less and less purple, less, and it's like there is going to be, and it truthfully, it's not that's not good. Because you need different ideas to be able to get the thing. We can't just move to this area because we agree with this. There's going to be areas that have governmental things that kids need, and there's going to be ones that get cut. If you go to this and it's going to be moving back and forth and back and forth, we need to be able to start talking. That's why I talk about Pundit. So I talk about Pundit. I appreciate you being on, Jordan. And you being with this, and I'm always happy to have you. You great opinions. But this is the thing about Pundit. It's the idea we don't all have to agree or have the same views or have all of this. We need to listen. And we need to be able to see because then the radicals go insane. Hey, Will. It's like
this is the one thing I like about this show is we actually have conversations. We may not agree on everything, but at least we're having the conversation, listening to each other to hear our opinions on each of it.
Well, and that's right. And it's like the radicals will go insane if we don't get more of this spread. More of sideline. A lot of sideline shows are starting to do what we're doing, and it's like if we start spreading this to the people and get to this thing and to the bigger markets and everything, the radicals are just going to take every state. You're just going to go to where the radical is, and that's not good.
No, not at all. But swing on the last but not least, Scott Morganrath. I know you got you got a pretty sizable opinion on this one. So go ahead and take it away. What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
When do I not have a sizable opinion on any subject?
That's true.
All right, so where are we going to go here? You know what? Rule number 1, okay. One of the greatest religious things I've ever heard was in the movie Hoosiers. God needs you on the floor. Okay. So we need you on the floor. So, you say it that way? I'll get out there. Okay. You got to talk to me through God. Okay. Therefore, wanted to get my Hoosiers reference out. Number 2, okay. You want to talk about an area which is a Bible area? How about Gaston County in Gastonia? And I actually used to live there working for the Rangers once upon a time when Sammy Sosa, Juan Gonzalez, and 10 more other major leaguers, went via the I-85 route. Mm-hmm. Now, with that said, and I don't really get brief on a lot, but I'm going to get a little bit briefer on here because I know that this subject's important. You know what? I don't care what part of the country you are in. Don't start reading the Bible to guys. If you can't find a way to motivate anybody, get the hell out of coaching, man. I mean, on the South Florida Tribune, I do not allow writers to write about politics or religion. So, keep the Bible out of the locker room. I don't care whether you're in Tennessee, Texas, Tahiti, Thailand. Stay the heck out of there. Because you know what? You want to talk about the most subjective opinion on the planet, as Keith Jackson would say, you got it. So, not like the Sunday voice I didn't have, but the Wednesday one, doubleheader wise. So keep the Bible out of the locker room. Come on, coaches, wake up, man. You got to do a little bit better. Winning is a nice thing. So you don't have to, if you can't motivate anybody to play to their capabilities, either they need to go or you need to go. But to have to make a religious Bible reference doesn't cut it with me. I don't care whether it's red, green, blue, pink, wherever part of the country you are. And I realize certain areas tend to be, they have that distinguish between, what levels based on the area. I've lived in the Midwest where you have blue collar. I lived in the deep South where, moonshine is a pretty good popular drink. Okay. Although I actually, if you're in Charlotte, I like Sundrop, and that's a lot stronger than Diet Mountain Dew. I haven't made my caffeine reference yet, so I'm doing it now. So, oh, come on, did you expect me not to at least make a reference of it? Come on, guys, you know that. So
Yeah.
To make a long story short, if I'm capable of doing it, which I don't think I am, stay the heck out of the Bible. All I want to hear from religion is strap, get back on the floor. And that's probably what allowed Gene Hackman to be one of the greatest actors of all time with all 9 million performances he's made anyways. What else do you want me to tell you? It doesn't matter if it's Kirk Cameron, Mark Adams, Herman Munster. Okay. It doesn't matter if you're Lurch. Don't talk about the Bible in a locker room. Did I leave anybody out?
That's about it.
And I understand that completely because I'd love to be able to coach again. If I coach again, would I use the Bible? No, not really. For one thing, I'm not a biblical scholar. I would absolutely murder it.
Well, I'll say I do have to provide a comedic reference to the Bible. Did you guys ever used to watch Sanford and Son?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Okay, well, let me give you one of my favorite scenes in that show. When him and his son Lamont went somewhere, this guy, I'm sure other people have done it before, okay, stole the Bible. And Lamont says, "Why did you steal a Bible?" Well, now we got double coverage.
Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't help it. I'm sorry, I lost it there, man.
I'm a Christian believer, but I would murder the Bible if I would try to do it. So I just wouldn't dare. But I would absolutely murder it. But I'm talking about that if I try to quote it. But my big thing is this is not an era where a bunch of kids read it anymore. They don't have the same. There's certain Bible studies in certain areas, but a lot of them just don't. It's not paid attention the same. There's people that come from different areas. So it's just that's a part of reading the room that can be missed also in the middle. You're not going to, no matter how many times they try to do it, someone like a Mark Adams, who's from an older generation, no matter how many times you do it, quoting it will just either do one of two things: irritate somebody, they don't want to listen to it, or they'll read the whole thing and catch the hypocrisy.
Well, let me add one interesting more candidate, because my sense of humor is on a roll as we get ready to go to the Sports Exchange. And JB Ellis is the only one, and Jeremy Butlerreich haven't even seen the new digs, is why I get crazy, because I have the T behind me. Okay, now let me make a Moses reference, because this is a very serious Moses reference, okay? And it really is. Moses said there were 10 commandments. Is that right? Is that how they portray it?
Correct.
Well, Moses wasn't around when I added 2 more. Thou shalt not overpay and thou shalt not get caught. So now you got 12 mochas.
No, 13. Thou shalt not drink my Mountain Dew.
There you go.
Oh, no. I break that one all day long, man. Forget that one. I like the 12. Everything's better in even numbers. So, Moses, wake up. We got 2 more. I know you, and I know, Moses, you didn't have the internet then. The only thing you knew about the internet might have been wires when you had to wire up your house. But no, I got 12. So when am I trying to add a little light to this religion thing a little bit? Yeah, I don't get an opportunity to do it much anyways. But, with all due respect, I think I've already split out about 5, 6, 7 one-liners in a short period of time called rapid fire.
Yeah, I think probably the closest to technology Moses had back then was the burning bush itself, and we know how that went. But
I do have to add one more thing to this. I'm sorry, but once upon a time when I went out there to Branson, Missouri, okay, and my wife accidentally, we didn't get my Acer through because they forgot to put it back in. Luckily, I found it through Orlando Airport. And they said, "What did you have on it?" Well, Craigslist was on there. That's how they identified the Acer. But you know what I did when we got that computer back? I did get some stickers out in Branson, and one of them was on Moses, and I stuck it to the back of my Acer, so I knew I'd never ever worry about losing that thing again because Moses is on there. Give me my computer back. Okay.
No, my favorite Branson, Missouri reference is from The Simpsons. It's like, oh my God, where we're at. We're in Branson, Missouri. It's basically what Las Vegas would be if Ned Flanders owned it.
Oh boy,
yeah.
that's crazy.
That.
Well, Well, we do have 5 minutes left, and
Well, Mark Adams, you stirred up sense of humor leads to eternity, whether you realize you'd ever do it or not. This is Pundit's Pundit.
Yep.
Yep. So if you're watching, this is it.
Cooperation with the South Florida Tribune. How you like that for a line?
Yep.
Well, real quick, before you wrap up here, and that is the XFL attempting to unionize. This wasn't in the lineup last week that we didn't get to, but this actually is not it might not be a bad move, especially as soon as the XFL had made its return and such. But Jacob, wanted to get your thoughts on this whole thing, because I know it's I think we can kind of foresee between now and the next 7 years that it's going to be a farm system. The NFL is probably going to buy it out or something like that. Either that or the USFL. 10 years max, right? But should they decide to get bought out by the NFL, how do you think that the unionization, is going to, play out?
It'll just merge through. But I don't know. Here's the thing, though. It's a brilliant idea, and the reason is because there's also the NFLPA. People know that there's one of the biggest things about it is the NFLPA. I mean, they throw their hat into everything, whether they win or they lose, and they get in there. And it's like, and the XFL right now doesn't have that representative. It's brand spanking new. And in truth, I was wrong about something. I thought XFL with The Rock, with Dwayne Johnson, would have a chance to be able to get bigger names. Right now, especially, I would have thought it would have been like just say a Lamar Jackson when it first started, like something along those lines, just to get a name out there to be able to be the head of the league. I thought that I was missed on that one, because I thought it'd be okay. It's not Vince McMahon anymore, but so now you basically got players that are looking to get to the NFL again, and it's like, but it's good football. It's better football than with Vince McMahon. There's no question of that. There's actually paid attention, but. Now that we know that there's not bigger names, and I was wrong on that, it's a great idea because you have the NFLPA. They want to have an XFLPA. And it's like one of the things with it is the fact that here's the issue. Does the XFL have enough money to do this? And it's like they have the money to fight off Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird and all of them over the trademark, the X trademark. They fought them off and won easily, which I did catch that one right. I said that. They caught them. They had the money to do that, and the together with the X on it did not have the money. Those people did not have the money to be able to fight off that. But do you have the money to get all those players in the league? Remember, it's a 53 player each time. Can you cover them? Can you get their medical expenses? Can you get all of that? It's such a new league. Can they find the money?
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan, real quick, your thoughts on this?
I honestly think it's a good idea, especially if it's here long term, because we know that there needs to be other football than just the NFL for these players. If you're going to do it and unionize, at least that will give you better health coverage. You can get maybe higher salaries. I honestly think it's a good idea. Why not? At least try to do it, especially if this league is going to be here for a long time.
Absolutely. I think COVID kind of robbed us of the last installment. So, definitely do this as quick as you can. But last but not least, Scott, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
What do I think? Honestly, I differ from everybody. I call it absurdly premature. Talk to me in 2025 if you have a league, and then I'll comment on this subject again. Boy, my word of the night has been absurd. I've used it a couple times tonight. Absurdly premature. Was this the third version of it? Vince McMahon messed it up twice. Don't get me wrong, Dwayne Rock Johnson and his former other half, Danny Garcia, are doing a good job revitalizing it. But how can you talk about a union right here, which is a feedership to the XFL, if you don't know who's going to be there 1 year or another? So it needs to survive a couple of years for me to even think union exists in the same sentence of XFL. So I think it's absurdly premature. Well, and another thing too, you got the USFL starting up. I wouldn't be surprised down the road if this competition gets what it is. Maybe one of them's leading toward a merger. Anyways, you never know what could happen down the road there as well. So I think it's real premature.
Well, and the thing is, though, in one case, if it was Vince McMahon again, Vince McMahon can't get it. I mean, Vince McMahon cannot get money, not in the way he cannot raise money like that. It's like you got to remember how much over the years, how much baggage he's got. They're not going to want to deal with him. The Rock and Danny can. They can get the money. They can raise it. They can do this. But like I
agree totally.
Huh?
I agree totally. Look at the two as people.
There's one. I'm sorry. There's one thing you guys are missing right now. You know what that is? Okay, is they all have to play in their home stadium first before you even worry about a union.
Right.
Yeah. That is true. But just alluding to Jacob's point, right. You got The Rock, very lovable guy, biggest actor in the world, right? Then you got Vince McMahon, shrewd business owner, very controversial. People are going to want to work with The Rock way more than they would Vince McMahon.
That's definitely
no doubt
true
about that. I'm not questioning that at all. Talk to me in 2025 when if they're alive, and then
That's fair.
We'll revisit this.
Absolutely.
That's fair. We got to get on over to the Sports Exchange. So that does it for the Pundit's Pundit. Jordan, you going to be joining us on Sports Exchange, or you got to?
I will not. Not tonight.
I had him last night on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and boy, did we go wild, and he got to see the new setup.
The girl's watching from a thing going,
I know, right? He's being rushed off camera right now. Let's go ahead and get him back to his other half. Yes, 108 Stitches was on last night, so you can catch that on the South Florida Tribune on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, the Sports Exchange coming up next. I'm going to be on there. Jacob's going to be on there. He's this way. Jacob's going to be on there, and of course, Scott Morganrath is going to be hosting. And also, right after that, Confidential. So come on back to Sideline Sports Network. Confidential is going to be produced by myself, hosted by JB Ellis, and also starring Jacob Christner.
Oh, JB Ellis is going to be on too. So all three of you guys are coming on that one. You guys get to do a little bit more after that. So
hey, it's one big old slumber party. I'll bring the popcorn and the hot sauce. So for Jacob Christner, Jordan Long, and Scott Morganrath, I'm Denzel Snipes. We will see you all in 7 days for more Pundit's Pundit. Later.